Can you hear it with your ears? Can you see it with your eyes? Can you feel it wiggling between your quivering thighs? That thing with James. Once every millennium something will come along. When you feel it you will know it, 'cause it's coming on strong. That thing with James. Sit back, relax, deep breaths, no stress. Let me come inside your mind. I promise you it won't take long, the change will happen soon. You will feel something so special growing deep within you. That thing with James. That thing with James. That's me. Hi. Welcome to episode 26 of That Thing with James J. Asher II. As always, I'm your host and the creator of this show, James Jackson Asher II. That's me. I'm the second because I'm named after my grandfather, my paternal grandfather. He was James J. Action Asher the first, or as other people knew him, Judge Jackson Asher, because he was a judge in my hometown long before I was born. Well, speaking of judge, let's talk about judging and judgments. I recently wrote a song about judgments, judgmentation, judgmenting, judging in general, judgment. I was listening to a podcast I like to listen to, and I heard this word, or this phrase, pain piggy. I'd never heard it before, but it rung so true. Pain piggy. I was like, pain piggy? Oh my God. They were describing some guy who's always having to come on to MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, and apologizing for, off-color things that he said. And they started calling him a pain piggy. And to put it another way, the guy's a glutton for punishment. He does bad things, knowing they're bad things, but they were finding the humor in that. He probably gets off on the shame, on the humiliation, on having to apologize for saying something off color. And something about pain piggy stuck out to me, and I wrote a song about it. I haven't been practicing much guitar this week, so it may be a little rusty, so please forgive me, but I'm going to sing a song called Pain Piggy. I wrote it this week. I hope you like it. Actually, I wrote it last week. But anyway, here it is. you till you come and you ask for more. Once you're done, there's the door. You're a pain piggy. You're a little pain piggy. Monday comes and you hope you do too. Snug necktie just like a noose. You feel better when you can't breathe. Average people can't conceive, 'cause you're a pain piggy. You're a little pain piggy. Machinations running through your aching heart is coming loose. So lose yourself, submit control to feel okay. Is the goal externalize the pain within? Confirm suspicion you're a sinner, but you know you're more than that. You're a pain piggy. You're a little pain piggy. Nip you piggy like you like. Make sure the clamps are twisted tight. You break the rules to be chastised. That's how love looks in your eyes. You're a pain piggy. You're a little pain piggy. Ow! Ooh! I'm sorry. Did I do a bad thing? I guess you're gonna have to punish me. Ow! Oh, yeah. Thank you. Pause for laughter. Thank you. Thank you. That was my original song, Pain Piggy. I hope you liked it. Now, on to some quick business. If you like that song, and if you like the show, and if you like the way I do it, you can donate through my Patreon account, patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. There you can donate as little as $1 a month, or as much as $15,000 a month. I'm not even fucking kidding. You can donate $15,000 a month if you want. If you got fuck you money, or if you're really bad with money management and you have that kind of shit laying around. ThatThingWithJames@gmail.com. And I also want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to Josh and Wade, my two Patreon patrons. You guys rock, and I love you both. Thanks for donating to the show. And if you're not Josh or Wade and you're not donating to the show, that's okay. You don't have to. But, you know, it would be it'd be helpful. Patreon.com/ThatThingWithJames. I have a website, jamesjasher.com. There, on the contact page, you can find my agent's contact information. If you want to reach out to my agent for some reason, like if you want me to be like in a Scorsese movie or something, that'd be cool. I'd do that. And I also have a blog there, jamesjasher.com/blog. If you go way, way back before I started the show, you can see some of my writing examples. I'm a good writer. You'll see if you go there and read it, the stuff that I wrote. I have an Instagram and Twitter. I have a Facebook, but I don't fuck with it too much. It's mostly for like personal relationships. But my public presence on social media is on Instagram and Twitter. The handle for both of them is at James J. Asher. The at sign JamesJasher. James J. Asher. Yeah. And if you're listening, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the show, rate, and review it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel and like the videos you like, and leave a comment. And for all of you, share the show with your friends. Spread the love like butter across the craggy, crumbly surface of a warm croissant. Yeah. So if you want to, that's the quick business. That's over with now. Today, what are we going to talk about today? Anxiety. We're going to talk about anxiety disorder, because I got that. And I recently started getting treatment for it, and I'm kicking myself for not seeking treatment. Well, I got treatment pretty early, not continuing treatment for decades. I'm kicking myself for not continuing treatment for anxiety disorder for over a decade. So many relationships have gone south. I've had so many young women I was dating who thought I didn't want to be around them. And there were some that I didn't want to be around, but most of the time I know who and what I like. And I know what the fuck I'm doing, even though it doesn't seem like it all the time. I know what the fuck I'm doing. Most of the time, I know what the fuck I'm doing. I'd say 80% of the time, I know what the fuck I'm doing. That's a pretty big chunk of time. And that covers, interpersonal relationships, romances. And there were some girls I was in relationships with who thought I didn't like them and didn't want to be around them. And no, that's not the case. Because I'd get quiet and distant. And, well, I was being quiet and distant, but it was because I was, way in my head, spiraling thoughts, dark spiraling thoughts. Worrying what could go on my entire life. I remember being a little kid and just saying man, I'm such a worrywart all the time. I didn't tell anyone else about it, but I always internally labeled myself as a worrywart. Little did I know that's not normal. Worrying as much as I do. And I get the control thing. I get that. And believe me, I put a lot of work into the control thing. I know when to control and when not to control. And you usually don't control. 80% of the time, you don't control stuff. I get that. But my brain just goes, and my body, here's part of the thing is I get panic attacks. I'd say more frequently than is normal. I have an abnormal number of panic attacks throughout my life. And I can feel it in my body, heart palpitations, shaking hands. I can feel the blood pressure rising in my neck. Not right now, but that's how it feels. And so I've had panic attacks a lot my entire life. Feeling trapped, in some extreme cases. It hasn't happened a lot, thankfully. I can count on one hand the number of times I've had an attack this bad, but sometimes it gets so bad it's the walls are literally closing in. It's the room is literally getting smaller. It's a halfway hallucination. And that's when I feel really trapped. And I've lived with that my entire life. And so some people think or have thought that I didn't like them or didn't want to be around them because I was being just quiet and distant. And it's not that. I was just in my head, I was inside myself trying to quell the rising tempest of a panic attack of just crippling anxiety. So yeah, I've dealt with that my entire life. And I recently, like 3 weeks ago, I went to a doctor for the first time in 7 years. Basically, since getting off of my parents' insurance and, getting on my own, thankfully I'm able to afford that thanks to Obamacare. Thanks, Obama. And I went to the doctor, and I just had like a whole laundry list of things to ask about. And I got some blood work done, got my blood tested. I'm good, man. My body's good. Except from like my brain releasing fucked up chemicals. But, my cholesterol's good. My thyroid's good. I'm not anemic, I'm a healthy body. All that stuff. It's all good. It's all gravy, baby. I just have this like ever-present edge of anxiety. And also, I'm really smart, and I'm like into existentialism stuff. So I think about existentialist thoughts a lot. Like, what's the fucking point of life? Like, what's the point of all of this stuff? It's just a charade. It's just a game. The world, the nature of nature is purely absurd, purely chaos. And any order that comes out of it is, well, it's also natural because it's a product of nature, but it's just a random thing that happens. However, I think there's a little bit of both here. I think there's both chaos and design at the same time. It's a paradox. And the only reason paradox exists is because it's a way for the human brain to basically find peace and come to terms with seemingly contrasting concepts that exist together somehow. Two concepts that seem like they should not exist together, yet do. And it seems as though these concepts need each other to exist. So I think there is design just as much as there is chaos, just as much as there is no chaos, just as much as there is no design. See, I think about this kind of stuff, and I think about, what am I doing wrong with my life? Am I gonna like fucking starve in the next year? Am I wasting my time? Am I doing things right? Am I doing things wrong? These kinds of questions running constantly in my head. And now, not all the time. So it used to be like that, just constant running thoughts. And I know how to deal with that now, thanks to years and years and years and years of practicing just meditation and mindfulness and stuff like that. But the physical sensation of the anxiety persisted. There would be random, kind of rare, I wouldn't say totally rare, but infrequent days when I felt truly like I could relax and be calm in my body. There was always that nervous shaking tension inside me, a nervous quivering in my core through my nerves. And since going to the doctor and talking about this kind of stuff, I got onto medicine called Lexapro. It's an SSRI, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I'm not going to talk about how those work. You can easily find that information online yourself. But I've been taking them for 2 weeks now, and I was briefly on it when I was 17, Lexapro. And I think I stuck with it for like 1 week. And then I said, this isn't the real me. You can't hold me down, man. This isn't like, I think this doesn't feel like the real me. This isn't the whole me. You're augmenting me. You're trying to hide me. You're trying to cage me. I was just being a fucking dumb, hormonal 17-year-old. So I got off the Lexapro after like 1 week. I didn't even give it time to do anything. And I just lived my life with that ever-present, quivering anxiety. And now over the past couple of weeks, I have noticed some effect. Now, it's supposed to take like weeks before you, like 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month or 5 weeks, before you really notice the effects of SSRIs. So I'm not saying I'm getting the full effect yet, but thus far I have noticed a change. My hands always were kind of quivery, shaky. My hands aren't shaking anymore, which is a really nice feeling. Yeah, I should have done this a long fucking time ago. Life feels like, if life were a video game, the difficulty level has been on hardcore for most of my life. And now I feel like it's set to normal instead of hardcore. And that's a really nice feeling. I'm gonna take a pee break. I'll be right back. Sure. Now, I recently got a question from a fan of the show who shall remain nameless, and I thought this would be a good tie-in for the topic I'm talking about, anxiety. The question is, or here we go. I want to quit drinking alcohol due to its negative effects on me. I consume about 60 ounces of malt liquor per week. Any suggestions? Thanks, man. Have a good day. Well, I do have some suggestions. Because I used to drink a lot more than 60 ounces a week. And I was drinking liquor. Straight liquor. I drank a lot. So, I'm glad that you're asking how to manage or quit your alcohol consumption. I think that's an honorable thing to do. So, kudos to you. That's an achievement in itself, is even addressing that there is an issue. And alcohol does have a lot of, negative side effects. Alcohol is a drug, and it can really ravage the body, and it's also physically addictive. Fortunately, if you're doing 60 ounces a week, what is that? So you get like a 40 of malt liquor. You're drinking malt liquor and you're doing 60 ounces a week. Let's see. I think that's like a 40 and a half out of a whole week. That, I don't want to say that's not that bad. What I want to say is that makes it sound like you're not physically addicted to it, which is a good thing. It doesn't sound like you drink enough to go get the DT tremors. If you are physically addicted to alcohol and you don't wean off, if you just go cold turkey, you can die. Literally, your body will go into shock and die. That's one of the more dangerous things about alcohol, is you can die from it if you're physically like drinking all the time. I mean, like more than I used to drink. And I used to drink a lot. And in retrospect, it was my way of self-medicating to help with my anxiety. And basically throughout my college career, I was just I was an alcoholic, and it got bad when I was in grad school. I was drinking just so much, and just straight liquor, get a shot, get some whiskey, pour a shot into a tall, big glass of water to make sure that I hydrated myself. But I was drunk all the time, and it's embarrassing to think Like, I probably smelled like alcohol all the time. It's embarrassing to think about. And I've even gotten into some trouble with Johnny Law due to an alcohol-related incident. I don't want to go into much detail about that today. Maybe another time I'll tell you about that story, but yeah, I've been handcuffed. You know, I've I've hit rock bottom, emotionally and otherwise. Fortunately, I mean, rock bottom is relative for everyone in many different circumstances. I hit, I guess, as close to rock bottom as I needed to hit to get my shit together. So that helps if you want to get your shit together and you're like the kind of person who has to hit rock bottom. Sometimes that's what you need, is to hit rock bottom. Maybe that's it for some people. That's where a lot of people a lot of alcoholics have their moment of clarity before going into the program. I've never been into the program, talking about, well, it's collective of anonymous individuals. I've never been to a program like that, but I have like taken some classes and gone to like a MAD meeting, like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and some other stuff. But I like the message and the idea behind the program. And the whole idea is kind of what I touched on a bit ago, is control, relinquishing control. And there's a lot of quotes. One of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, Dr. Bob, I think is his name, Dr. Bob, he wrote a book, and there's all sorts of sayings in the program, like, I love all of them. Some stuff like, things won't change if things don't change. Things won't change if things don't change. So if you want change, you're going to have to do the change yourself, really. You got to do the work. And it's not easy to develop a new habit and to let go of an old one. Is not fucking easy at all. It's difficult. It's very difficult. But things won't change if things don't change. I'm pretty sure that's from Dr. Bob. And then, of course, there's the Serenity Prayer. I really like that one. And you can even say it if you're an atheist. The message behind it holds, I believe. I think it goes something like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the strength to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Yeah, that's the Serenity Prayer. I love that. It's a great message. So, you want to give up drinking alcohol. Well, it doesn't sound like you're physically addicted, so that's good. You've got that going for you. I would say, for me, part of what helped me, like, I rarely drink. I'll drink on, like, specific holidays, like St. Patrick's Day. I'll go out and drink. And part of the thing with, like, the drinking for me was, I couldn't pace myself, really. You know, I get thirsty, and I'm thirsty in general for like water or anything. I'm always thirsty, which is pretty apt considering I'm going to talk about this book I've been reading here in a little bit. Thirst is a big part of this book I've been reading, but. Yeah. If I start drinking, like, I can't. I have to be careful if I bring like a bottle home or like a 6-pack or something, because I'll just tear through it, real fast. Fuck, I'll drink a whole fucking bottle in a day, straight up. And I'll be functional too. I mean, should I drive? No. Not like that. But, I'm not like breaking down into tears. I just get kind of silly, I'm a fun drunk. Fortunately for me, I'm a fun drunk. But it makes me so depressed afterwards. If I do it regularly, and if I do it like hardcore like that, I'll just get depressed for like a couple weeks after that, because alcohol is a depressant, and it will make you depressed. You don't think clearly. Even if you're not drinking, even if you're not drunk, you're still having the chemical aftermath of consuming a lot of alcohol, so you won't be thinking straight. You'll be depressed, yada, yada, yada. But I've noticed that over time, since like my late 20s, it just, unless I'm like out on one of my rare, like few times a year outings to like a bar or something, if I'm out, and especially if I'm like with friends or something, I'll be drinking, having a good time, having fun. I call it my little purge, because I feel good after that. Like I don't get depressed after that. But if I bring like a bottle home or something, like some vodka or something, and if I just tear right through it, I don't do too well. And even just generally drinking at home, even if I do pace myself with just like a beer, makes me feel just like sluggish and overly full. And, a glass of wine's fine. But then by my second glass, I'm just like sleepy. If I have a cocktail, I just get fucking tired. It's not even fun, I just get tired. I'm like, I don't even get drunk. It's just tired. So that's kind of what happened to me, is I had like a chemical change, I guess. It just made me tired. And it's like, well, what's the point of that? I don't want to go to sleep right now. And if I drink at home, it's going to put me to sleep. And I don't want to go to sleep. So I guess I'll just have some tea. But for you, man, I mean, it's entirely subjective. At some point, if you want to quit, you will have to not drink the alcohol. You're going to have to not purchase the alcohol. And then some other things are going to come up. You're going to get bored. Maybe you'll get to thinking too much. Maybe you'll get anxious or depressed. Now, without that veil of the alcohol, maybe you will be approaching some unresolved stuff in your life that maybe you need to look at, feeling some feelings that maybe you need to feel. I know I recently came across an article that I didn't read, but I read the the headline, and it was like, anxiety looks different in men than it does in women. Men, it often manifests as anger, and or alcoholism. And then there was a third one. I don't remember what, but yeah, my drinking when I was like hardcore drinking all the time, it was self-medicating to deal with my anxiety, and other issues like therapeutic type issues that I needed to talk to. There is a difference. There's traumas and stuff like that you need to talk, find like a professional or someone to talk to about, who can listen, and, it's best with a professional. And maybe, I'm not saying you have it. This is one of the reasons to talk to and visit with a professional, is that they can assess if maybe if you have a disorder, if you do indeed have one, there's ways to treat that. And I've recently started that, and I'm so glad that I did it. So, if you want to stop drinking, you have to stop drinking, and since you're not physically addicted, you don't have to wean yourself off of it. I know for me, when it comes to like weaning off of something, I don't do it well because I'll just keep doing it. So I have to do like cold. So maybe that's you. Maybe you got to go just like cold and not get it and pick up some new habits. Journaling. I strongly advise you and everyone else to journal every day. Just whatever's on your mind, how your day went, what you're thinking about, anything you want to write about. You don't have to share it with anybody. I don't share my journal. I keep my journal very private because I share like everything in my journal, my deepest thoughts, hopes and fears, dirty thoughts. I journal. That's a great way to, get things out of my head. Until I write it out, it's just going to sit in my head and repeat itself. And it's like, just shut the fuck up. If I write it down and put it into physical space, then it's not so much in my head anymore. And if it's a issue that I really do need to deal with, I will keep thinking about it. But generally, if it's something on my mind, I write it down. It's out of my head. And I feel just more at peace after having journaled. I also suggest just find new ways to occupy your time, mind, and energy. Pick up some new hobby, just developing new habits. So basically what it comes down to is you got to find some healthy, productive habit to replace the not so productive, not so healthy habit of drinking alcohol. That's it. And maybe at some point you do grow or develop in such a way that you don't cut it completely out of your life. You just do it kind of rarely, like I do. But yeah. So I'm going to take another break. I'll be right back. I'm back. So just one last point on anxiety, then I want to switch gears and get onto something a little more fun. One of the things I was thinking about, in addition to relationships, is just generally like opportunities and like money. How many opportunities have I missed out on? How much money have I missed out on making because of I was just immobilized by anxiety and panic. I remember last year, it's just gotten, it got bad. It just got worse and worse in certain circumstances. In some ways it got better, and in some ways it got worse. And I noticed, like, for example, in acting class, I didn't do as well as I knew I could do. And it's because I was just having like a panic attack. Like my hands were, if you're watching this, I'm doing an exaggerated shaking of my hand. That is not an exaggeration. That's how bad both of my hands were shaking, heart pounding, just full blown like panic. I couldn't function. And I just powered through, meditate, deep breathing, yada, yada, do all the stuff, exercise, positive thinking, visualization, all the stuff. I've done it all, man. But, except for getting back on, some meds, psych meds. And now I feel a lot more calm, a lot more centered, less nervous energy. It's honed in more. Because, I could hone it in before, but it's like I can't sit and meditate for an hour every single day Well, I could, but I'd have to like, give a lot of other stuff up that I don't think. I already have a difficult enough time managing my time. So I guess if I wanted to do that, I mean, even if on days where I spent like an hour just sitting and breathing, no TV on, no electronics, nothing, just sit and breathe for an hour, 90 minutes, I would feel so centered. I'd feel great, clean, pure. My like defragging a hard drive is how I view meditation. One of the things it does is it defrags your brain, so to speak. If you don't know what it means to defrag a hard drive, I mean defragmentation of a hard drive, that's something else you can look up. It's some nerdy stuff for you. Technology. Well, meditation is a form of managing your organic technology, your organic machine, mind, body, and soul. But even on those days, something could happen. Anything could happen at any moment. That quivering anxiety could just strike again. So yeah, and you know, it runs in the family. A lot of it's hereditary. So I'm glad that I'm seeking treatment now, and I've been thinking, how many auditions have I ruined? Like, I had an audition about a month ago with this dude that I worked with before, a director I'd worked with before. And after the audition, he was very warm and inviting and happy to see me and stuff. And I was trying to be, but my hands were shaking, and I was trying to manage a panic attack, like get through it somehow. The only way I knew how, just fucking get through it. Just keep breathing and do it. And you're just, full turbulence within me the whole time. And when we said goodbye, in my head, I was like, I want to be more warm and open with this guy and shaking his hand and saying, thank you, have a great day. And I said it, but I could tell that he could tell there was some distance that I was putting between us. And afterwards, I was like, did that guy just think that I don't like him or something? No, I was fucking panicking, man. I couldn't function. So yeah, stuff like that. Jobs that I quit that I just couldn't deal with. And I mean, there were jobs that I just straight up just couldn't deal with. And then there are other circumstances where it's just like, my disorder like blew it completely out of proportion. Warped my reality into thinking something was a lot worse than it actually was. So, well, at least I'm doing something now. And viewer with the question, at least you're doing something now. You're asking the right question. You're thinking about the right thing. You're thinking about what's good for you. And what's good for you is ultimately what's good for everyone else. You got to help yourself before you're able to help anyone else. You can't be there for anyone else if you're not able to be there for yourself, for any of you listening or watching. And that's not to say like a selfish thing, but if, it's like the blind leading the blind. If maybe you're not permanently blind, but, if you're a little snow blind and you're trying to lead a group of blind people, maybe wait till the snow blindness passes and you can see again before you start trying to lead anybody else. That's what I mean when it comes to like, you have to help yourself before you're able to help anyone else. Anyway, switching gears, I've been reading a new book and I am hooked. I haven't been this hooked by a book in I guess like 2 or 3 years since I read Stephen King's Dark Tower series. As a matter of fact, I think I'm a little more hooked than I was with that even. I'm like when I was a kid reading Harry Potter type hooked right now. When I was a kid reading Lord of the Rings, 1984. When I was in junior high school reading anything, I got so hooked by books. And then college came and then you had to read, and it's like, I got to read this shit I don't really care about. Some of the stuff I do find interesting, but a lot of this stuff, fucking theory papers, it's pretty fucking dry stuff. But this book has me hooked. I'm reading Dune by Frank Herbert. And a few days ago, I got curious and I decided to look at the print date. See, if you're watching, here's Dune. If you're listening, that's Dune. Let me do the pages. Can you hear that? Maybe, let me try this. There we go. You probably heard that if you didn't hear the other things. I got curious and I decided to look at the print date of Dune. And let's see here. Flip into it. It's a first edition. I got this first edition copy of Dune at a used bookstore, I believe in Stillwater, Oklahoma, for like $1. Now, there is some damage to it. It's not bad. There's a little bit of water stain on the outside of the pages, and the hardcover's got some scuffing and some residue from an old price tag sticker. And there is no dust jacket. So there's some damage to the book, but it's not bad. I would call this good condition. Good condition first edition. Good condition first edition of Frank Herbert's Dune. And dude, I love it. This is one of just the coolest fucking books I've ever read. And Frank Herbert is dealing with all the concepts I love. Sci-fi, philosophy, mythology, psychic abilities, space-time, the interplay of everything. Dude, it's so fucking cool. And from what I understand, Mr. Frank Herbert, he was no stranger to psychedelics. And I can tell, as someone who is also no stranger to those types of experiences, I can see it. I can read it in this book, and it's so accurate, and it's saying things that I have experienced. It's describing them in a way that maybe I was not able to, or describing it in ways that I would describe it and have described it, but got like weird looks. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, I had this experience and you might not get it, but Muad'Dib would get it. Usul would get it. Now, if you're fans, if you already know, if you've read Dune, there's a movie Dune from like 1984, I think. David Lynch made it. It's not great. Sting is in it. He plays a bad guy. He's got his fucking spiky platinum blonde hair. I don't think I have the movie on Blu-ray, and I've tried to watch it twice, but I have fallen asleep both times, so I didn't get through it either time. I think I fell asleep like 30 minutes in, or maybe even an hour in, both times. I don't know why. Maybe it's like The Wall, Pink Floyd's The Wall. I've maybe watched that like 3 or 4 times, but I never got all the way through it. I fell asleep like 45 minutes in, I guess just because I got too stoned and, fell asleep. Got a little too comfortable, like, fuck yes. Let's watch some cool shit. wake up, fucking credits are rolling. So that's been my experience with the Dune movie thus far. But the book, dude, I am just blasting through it. I think it's been like 5 days and I have maybe 100 pages left. If that, I've just been blasting through this fucker. I love it. I'm totally hooked. How to describe it? There's this stuff, dude, I don't even know where to describe it because it's a whole world. It's a whole feel. Is that like the word? This is a whole feel. Is that like the thing? Like in, I guess like drag culture or something, like, oh, that's a whole feel. Something like that. Man, dude, that's a whole feel. Well, anyway, I don't even know where to begin with this story because there's just so much. It's its own world, it has its own mythos, but a lot of it is applicable and reflective of expression of the world that we live in, the experiences we have. There's the Bene Gesserit, Bene Gesserit, the Weirding Way, the Weirding women. They call them the Bene Gesserit witches. They're women and they have this like kung fu kind of, now it's not like Bruce Lee kung fu kind of stuff, but there's a lot of like martial arts thought, a lot of Eastern thought in this, of like control and mastery of the mind and the body together, like every fiber, even like yoga and stuff like that. The more you master your mind, the more you master your body. The more you master your body, the more you master your mind, your limits of perception and stuff like this. Oh, God, it's so fucking good, and I don't even know where to begin. Maybe this is a conversation better left for like the next episode or something. Who knows? Maybe I'll give my review of Dune. Maybe by the next episode I will have finished and jotted down some notes so I can give you a proper review of Dune. Because right now I'm just reeling in it and I don't even know where to start. And I think I'm done with this episode right now. So thanks for tuning in. Love you. Bye. That's an abrupt ending. But that's okay. Life is like that sometimes. Stay cool, cats. Thank you again for tuning in. I love you all. Bye.